Not me who's changed. It's the left, who is now made up of a small contingent who've gone mental and a large contingent who refuse to call them out for it. But I will.
Maggie, what is wrong with a party saying, you know what, we're for rich white people? I don't think there's anything wrong. We have a system of advocacy.
I think the Democrats like yourself would really like it if the Republican Party said that.
I'm not a Democrat.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Libertarian, which is what Republicans used to be.
Is that the party for rich white people like yourself?
No, that's the party who wants government out of our lives, which the Republicans gave up on, which is why I don't like the Republicans.
My liberal friends always ask me, is Bill Maher a Democrat, Republican, or a racist hiding behind the veneer of comedy? Many of my friends are often surprised by my response to such questions, but in all honesty, there's no need for them to be, and the same goes for you. Before I provide a straightforward answer, let's briefly explore some of the reasons that have led my friends, and perhaps some of you, to even pose these questions. Bill Maher claims to have sacrificed his entire life for the ideals of the Democratic Party, and despite everything he has done for the party, it has left him behind for wokeism. But that is a blatant lie. However, remarkably, nobody has ever called him out on it. In the late 1980s and early 2000s, Maher repeatedly and unequivocally said he was no Democrat and that he voted Republican candidates. Bill has always appeared ashamed and physically sick whenever this question was asked. The question that, are you a Democrat, Bill? However, Bill began slowly shifting position in the late 2000s. After Obama's election, he jumped into the queue and claimed he was now an integral part of the new crop of the Democratic Party that was responsible for putting the first black man in the White House. This untreated big lie kept mutating ever since, becoming even more useful in the age of BLM and the raging debate over police brutality and racial inequality following the horrific murder of George Floyd. Using this fake position as an avid Democrat veteran, Bill Maher has been able to talk openly about and hate black people as much as right-wingers, neo-Nazis, and white nationalists without the slightest pushback, continuously and prejudicially pounding down on BLM and wokeism, which also means black in this context, every Friday on his HBO show, proving that one doesn't have to put on a Ku Klux Klan robe to promote white supremacy. Even better, one can wear a suit and tie and remain a lethal racist under the radar forever. So to answer the question, Bill Maher is a racist, the worst kind of racist. That is professional racist. He commits acts of racism for views, sponsorships, and yes, huge contracts from the most racist industry, Hollywood. The following clips back up my claims. They show Bill Maher spewing sewage of racism and bigotry worse than anything the Grand Wizard of KKK ever said. Enjoy and let me know what you think in the comment section.
Point, I guess, and one time a gay man came up to me after the show and he said, you know, I like what you do, but when you say fag, you know, it's like saying, and he said this, he said it's like saying nigger. So after that I used nigger in the joke. It never worked. No, but I don't write me, I was just...
Yeah, no, I thought it was Bill.
But let me tell you something. I would do a joke about the Republicans, and Clinton would laugh. I would do a joke about the Democrats, and Newt Gingrich would laugh. Then I did a joke about Jesse Jackson. They both laughed.
They both laughed.
They both love that one. Anyway. But there are some countries that, let's be honest, were better... seemed like they were better off when England was around to give them a swift kick in the pants.
That's a very snobbish thing to say.
Well, it may be snobbish, but it may also be true.
I don't think so.
Really? Do you think the average Somalian was better off?
We didn't rule Somalia.
Well, a bad example. But you ruled a lot of places in third world countries that are now a mess, that weren't a mess when you were around. And the average person had it better. You don't think that's true?
I think America was probably better when we ruled it. I don't care.
All that's happened is that...
he's so tough on immigration, he's going to have his wife deported. Now, well, his wife is Korean-American. That's, you know. Now, LeVar, you're Korean. Do you find that offensive as a...
I think that why you got into trouble for that remark is because you are not of Asian extraction. Do you see what I'm saying?
So you're saying I should have had my eyes done before I did the gig? That seems unreasonable to me.
But
anyway,
it's okay. It's okay for an Asian American to tell a joke like that, but it's not okay for a white boy, which is clearly what you are.
You can only do it on your own terms. Okay, I have to take a break. We're way over.
I saw last night on the football game, Alicia Keys sang "Lift Every Voice and Sing," which now I hear is called the Black National Anthem. Now, maybe we should get rid of our national anthem, but I think we should have one national anthem. I think when you go down a road where you're having two different national anthems, colleges sometimes now have, many of them have different graduation ceremonies for black and white, separate dorms. This is what I mean, segregation. You've inverted the idea. We're going back to that. Under a different
undoing of liberalism. I have always believed, as liberals do, for example, in a colorblind society, that the goal is to not see race at all anywhere for any reason.
Yes.
That's what liberals always believed all the way through. Obama, going back, Kennedy, everybody, Martin Luther King. That's not what the woke believe. They believe race is first and foremost the thing you should always see everywhere, which I find interesting because that used to be the position of the Ku Klux Klan, that we see race first and foremost everywhere.
Yeah.
Maggie, what is wrong with a party saying, you know what, we're for rich white people? I don't think there's anything wrong. We have a system of advocacy.
I think the Democrats like yourself would really like it if the Republican Party said that.
I'm not a Democrat.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Libertarian, which is what Republicans used to be.
Is that the party for rich white people like yourself?
No, that's the party who wants government out of our lives, which the Republicans gave up on, which is why I don't like the Republicans.
I can see a German soldier.
Really?
Yes. And I remember we had it in the house with some other, like, not other stuff from the Germans, but like her, like insignias and stuff, and, you know, patches that were on his uniform and, you know, stuff like that. They had a little World War II kid. And I remember my father once saying, oh, God, I could have had so much stuff. Maybe they were talking about how it was selling for something now. An example, certainly there is no other issue that's bigger in law enforcement. I'm going to read you a quote. This is from Mark Furman when he was on with Diane Sawyer, and it moved me, and I asked him to get this quote, and I'll give it to you. He said, I'll give you an example of how much a white policeman is not only not a racist, but he's not even prejudiced. He spends most of his career in high-crime areas in a neighborhood he's never lived in, never will live in. His kids don't go to school there. His wife doesn't go to the grocery store. He lives, he dies, he buries people, he fights. For who? Not anybody he knows. Who else is giving that kind of a commitment? Now, that's...
And it's not me who's changed. It's the left, who is now made up of a small contingent who've gone mental and a large contingent who refuse to call them out for it. But I will.
Maggie, what is wrong with a party saying, you know what, we're for rich white people? I don't think there's anything wrong. We have a system of advocacy.
I think the Democrats like yourself would really like it if the Republican Party said that.
I'm not a Democrat.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Libertarian, which is what Republicans used to be.
Is that the party for rich white people like yourself?
No, that's the party who wants government out of our lives, which the Republicans...
There was a study done last year where people were asked to rate their feelings about various races, and white liberals were the only group that has a bias against themselves. They want to hang out only with people who are not them. That's like your mother preferring the neighbor's kids. There is a
point, I guess, and one time a gay man came up to me after the show and he said, you know, I like what you do, but when you say fag, you know, it's like saying, and he said this, he said it's like saying nigger. So after that I used nigger in the joke. It never worked. No, but I don't write me, I was just...